According to Monday, July 21st, spoilers for The Bold and the Beautiful, Grace Buckingham's strategy will have a serious flaw. Here is what spectators may anticipate from John Finnegan, who will also play detective with amazing outcomes. Bill Spencer confirmed that Liam Spencer's tumor was completely removed after receiving the MRI results from Grace. As Friday's show came to an end, there were some moments of celebration, but Finn was obviously unable to get rid of the uneasy sensation. Finn is not going to let this go, judging by the thoughtful expression on his face. Naturally, Bill doesn't care about the specifics of Liam's surgery. He is just relieved that he will live. In contrast, Finn is a doctor who prefers to know everything, particularly in circumstances as bizarre as this one. Finn will play detective in Monday's B&B episode in an attempt to solve all of this. You can bet that Grace will end up on the hot seat because Bill stated that she and her colleague were in charge of the operation. Grace's plan has a serious issue because she ought to have done more to conceal her involvement in this. Bill undoubtedly would have done so out of gratitude if Grace had urged him to keep her name out of it. Grace might have gotten away with it if she had approached this situation differently. But because Grace was so eager to obtain Bill's $1 million, she became careless. Grace won't be able to respond appropriately to the questions that Finn will now pose. Bad news is on the horizon since Grace's agitation is sure to cause her to become agitated and generate even more suspicions. Finn might speak with Bridget Forrester once more to seek her opinion on this strange circumstance. In the end, Bridget and Finn might discover that Grace has pulled off the biggest fraud of all time. It appears that Grace set everything up to ultimately get Bill's money by fabricating a brain tumor for Liam. Grace will manage to get out of any debt problem she finds herself in, but if she loses her job and gets arrested, it might cost her more than she anticipated. According to teasers for The Bold and the Beautiful, Finn will demonstrate his tenacity in pursuing updates on the actual plot, so tune in. Monday, July 21st, spoilers for The Bold and the Beautiful point to a ton of surprises and turns. Now that he has no tumor, Liam Spencer will be thankful for another opportunity at life. John Finnegan appears to be dubious about this medical miracle in the meanwhile. That would spell disaster for Grace Buckingham, who appears to be about to commit another careless error in her covert plan. Let's discuss what will happen in the upcoming episode of the CBS soap opera, as you continue reading. Liam Spencer's miracle in medicine. First, let's talk about Liam's medical marvel. Although not immediately, Liam was informed that he had an incurable brain tumor. According to the physicians, Liam's collapse was caused by brain enlargement. There was no mention of tumors. Grace said that the neurologist just noticed the tumor during a follow-up MRI following the surgery. So, did Grace fabricate the story that Liam had a tumor? Or did they actually miss it the first time? Appreciation and second chances. Returning to Liam, he is ecstatic and overwhelmed by the news that his brain tumor has been totally gone. Everyone had been expecting Liam to die just a few days earlier. He would have finally died from the tumor if it hadn't been for the bullet. Accordingly, Liam will want to make sure he lives his second opportunity at life well. For Liam, that entails giving Kelly and Beth Spencer the best father he can. See what transpired in the most recent B&B episode by reading this. John Finnegan is doubting. According to Monday, July 21st teasers on The Bold and the Beautiful, Finn was dubious when Bill Spencer discussed the treatment. Finn requested success numbers in literature. Bill dismissed it though, as he had none of that. Just Grace's promise. If done the right way, Bill said, the process would be bogged down in red tape. Grace then informed Bill that the tumor had completely disappeared. Fans are aware that Grace recently received $1 million, therefore it is only natural for her to assert that Liam is doing better. Read this. Taylor Hayes presses Ridge to decide on a wedding date on The Bold and the Beautiful spoilers. Finn might try to challenge Grace and probably conducts his own investigation. Another error might occur when Grace falters or fails to provide him with the specifics. Finn will become even more suspicious as a result. Including Bridget Forrester in his probe would be typical of Finn. I wonder if the intimate collaboration between Finn and Bridget could result in passion. On Monday, July 21st, 2025, which narrative are you most excited to see? The sky was streaked with pinks and golds as the sun sank low over the tranquil village of Ashmere. Most people thought it was just another calm night. Not for Finn, though. He stood close to the hedge separating Grace Halden's land from his small yard, looking at her home with a frown on his face and a nagging feeling that something was seriously off. It was more than a gut feeling. He had questioned what Grace had told them because he had seen something, or rather failed to see something. No one dared to doubt her account since she had spoken it so convincingly and with such ease. Finn alone. The town was devastated 2 weeks ago by the unexplained disappearance of Darren Locke, a local businessman who was envied and admired. After the town's yearly charity gala, a sumptuous event held at Grace Halden's home, he had disappeared. He seemed irritated and departed early, saying he had business to attend to. According to Grace, it had been accepted without protest by the police. Grace was, after all, the town's sweetheart, rich, sophisticated, giving, and above suspicion. However, Finn had a hunch. At first glance, it appeared to be insignificant due to its modest size. Finn had gone outside to catch his breath during the gala and unintentionally overheard a heated discussion just before Darren was meant to have left. The voices were distinct even if he couldn't see the speakers well. Darren and Grace. Despite her anger, she made an effort to remain calm. But Darren was in a frenzy. "You said it was handled. This wasn't the deal. And you can't make it go away by smiling," were the only bits of information Finn managed to pick up. People started to worry when Darren failed to appear for a scheduled board meeting the following day. Concern then evolved into a police report, and Grace's description of his departure neatly concluded the matter, until Finn saw something was amiss. 3 days later, as he passed the local archives building, it struck him. No one had saw Darren's automobile depart, despite Grace's claim that he had taken it. It had not been heard to begin. Furthermore, there was no video of him leaving from the security camera that was positioned close to her estate's gate. Finn looked. Silently. Grace claimed that the camera was broken, but she was unaware that the city had just put in a second camera on a utility pole across the street to watch traffic. That one could see her gate perfectly. It also revealed that no car was departing that evening. Finn chose not to call the police. He required more. He realized that Grace would outplay any charges until he presented unquestionable evidence because of her elegance and smooth denial. So he went into detective work. In action, not in name. He was employed at the hardware store during the day. At night, he watched, noted, and pieced together irregularities and motions. He observed Grace's routines, including when her greenhouse lights turned on, when her staff came and went, and when deliveries arrived. There was nothing about her that shouted guilt. She was too conventional in her behavior. That was suspicious enough on its own. It was a rainy Thursday night when the breakthrough occurred. Using an old pair of binoculars, Finn was concealed on the hill behind her property under a camouflage sheet. Though she generally only entered her greenhouse in the mornings, he saw Grace wearing gloves as she entered. He saw her spend almost 20 minutes in one corner, flicking on a solitary work light. Finn waited an hour after she departed before coming over. It was dangerous, perhaps even stupid. He had to know though. Freshly covered, the dirt was disturbed, and the bleach odor deeper. Before using a trowel from his pack, he dug with his hands. He struck something hard, only 6 inches down. Metal. A little lockbox. In his ears his pulse roared. He pushed it open when he got home. Photographs, ledger sheets, and most damning of all, a USB drive were among the items found within. Finn discovered incriminating data on it, including financial documents and correspondence between Grace and Darren about offshore accounts, bribery, and blackmail. Additionally, 2 hours prior to the event, Darren sent a journalist a final draft of an email that was time-stamped. He had intended to reveal her. Finn realized now that Grace had a purpose and might have even been the reason behind his quiet. However, this was insufficient to charge her with murder. The corpse of Darren was never located. The police would hesitate without it. Finn then looked further. He followed Grace's every move on the night of the gala and in the days that followed. One name caught his attention when he looked over the guest list. Joseph Kane, a private security contractor who has a track record of cleaning up troublesome situations for wealthy clients. Although he had no clear connection to Grace, Finn discovered pictures of Joseph and Grace conversing in low tones close to the garden walk that had been carelessly shared on social media by other visitors. Then he discovered a record of a $40,000 cash withdrawal, made through a shell corporation that Grace now owned, but that Darren had previously controlled. Everything was fitting together too well. Documents, timestamps, photos, and audio recordings from his little listening device that he planted close to her greenhouse were all collected by Finn. The case was complete. Still, something didn't feel quite right. Grace was a genius. She remained calm. Why leave a lot of open ends? The twist then appeared. Finn discovered a letter shoved under his door the morning he was going to hand everything over to the police. The penmanship was exquisite and exact, but there was no name. It was a brief letter. Detective Finn, you're more adept at this than I thought. At midnight, meet me at the pier. Come by yourself. Let's wrap this up right. Finn didn't think twice. Just in case, he had a collapsible baton, a covert camera, and a recorder. With the exception of a lone shadow resting on the railing, the pier was deserted and covered in fog. Grace. As he drew closer, she remarked, "You've made quite the mess. You could have simply ignored it. You killed Darren," Finn whispered softly. "Or it was done for you." Grace chuckled, but it was icy. "Do you believe that? That I murdered him in order to keep a secret?" She gave him her complete attention. "Darren is still alive." He stopped. "He's in Argentina right now. With a clean passport, half of my money, and a new name. To get out of jail, he staged his disappearance, a classy way out, don't you think?" "You're telling lies," Finn remarked. But there was a hint of skepticism. She threw something at him and remarked, "He planned the entire thing." A telephone. It featured a video of Darren holding a newspaper that had been published only 3 days earlier. He appeared at ease. "Alive. You were duped, Finn. As if he were trying to fool me. But, in contrast to you, I anticipated it. I released him. Prison might have cost more, but it cost me. He is eliminated in this manner. I maintain my cleanliness. Why now tell me this? Because you nearly blew it all. Despite your intelligence, you don't grasp the game. When amateurs play detective, no one wins. However, I respect your perseverance." She took a step forward. "Now remove everything. Every single one of your little files. Leave, or it won't be as clean the next time." He looked her in the eye, unblinking and cold. "Now a poker game." "I'll think about it," he said. He then departed. He did not, however, remove the files. He produced copies, sent them time-stamped, encrypted, and anonymously to many news organizations. He added the chat Grace had at the pier, Darren's video, the financial documents, everything. After that, he vanished. No foreign passport, no private plane, unlike Darren. He simply moved to another city, changed his identity, and left Ashmere behind. The story, Grace Halden, philanthropist, implicated in international fraud scheme, surfaced 3 months later. Her kingdom fell apart. Darren, who is still on the run, was seen once before going missing again. Naturally, Grace denied everything, said the videos weren't real. The sound was altered. Her attorneys were ruthless. But too much had been seen by the public. Her halo broke. Finn, on the other hand, never went back to Ashmere. Occasionally, though, he would read case updates in the silence of another existence. See Grace battle in court. Watch as her smile tightens a little more. He had been a detective, and he had discovered the greatest secret of all in a community that was built on secrets. What's the best part? Nobody ever recognized him.